Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and I thank the panelists for being here today to talk about the President's AUMF. And I'd like to make a couple of points, and then probably, Dean Chesney, I'm going to come back to you. You know, the fact is it's so vague, and you all have already commented on that, and whether it should be expanded beyond ISA as to what groups could be a threat, what groups need to be fought and defeated. Let me make that point. Also, the issue of sunset, whether it should be sunset or not. I was in the Congress. I've been here 20 years. I was here at 9/11. I was part of this committee at that time. I remember the anxiety of the American people, and also those of us in Congress, by the way, that we had to do something. We had to give President Bush the authority to fight this enemy that had done so much damage to America. So we passed the AUMF for 2001, and then a year or two later we passed another AUMF for Iraq. Well, I bring that up because we are still there. If there had been a sunset with either of the two, do you think, Dean, that President Obama would have thought he had the authority to bomb Libya? Bob Gates, the Secretary of Defense, was sitting exactly where you are when my good friend Randy Forbes, who's now left the committee for another meeting, asked Secretary Gates if Libya had dropped a bomb on New York City, would that be an act of war? He never answered. He never answered it. So the point is that Mr. Obama did not come to Congress in any way to say to the Congress, this committee or any other committee, that we've got a problem with Gaddafi and Libya and we're going to attack. That's what's got the American people concerned, not just about Mr. Obama, but any president that has any type of authority that he or she can turn their nose up to the Constitution. And we are complicit as a Congress if we give them such authority that there are no limits to that authority. And actually there are no endpoint to the strategy that an administration, forget whether it's Obama administration or another administration, that we become complicit as members of Congress who uphold our hands and say we will support the Constitution of the United States, and we know the requirement of the Constitution as it reflects to war powers. So my question to you is that if these 2001 and 2002 had had a sunset, do you think that Mr. Obama would have felt that he could bypass Congress and bomb a foreign country? Because my belief is, as a non-attorney, that if he had done that, then we get into international law, that I don't think any nation, as great as America is, should have the power to just decide to go in and bomb another country because we don't like their leadership. And so therefore, I think the AUMF needs to be vetted very carefully as we move forward. But I want to ask you, I've got a minute to give it to you, I want to ask you, that if we had sunsetted those two AUMFs, do you think Mr. Obama would have felt he had the justification to bomb Libya?
Sir, you raised a number of great questions. If there had been sunsets for the 2001 and 2002 AUMFs, and if those moments came and for whatever reason those authorizations were not renewed so that they'd gone away, and we reached 2011 when, as we did, the administration deployed our military to use force in Libya, I actually don't think it would be any different than what actually happened, because at that time there was no claim by the administration that what it was doing in Libya was under color of either of the existing AUMFs. Instead, it was a pretty broad claim of Article II authority inherent in the President. So I think we would have seen that same claim being made, for better or worse. That claim does illustrate the breadth with which this administration understands its Article II authority to act without your participation to be. That was not a situation where there had been an attack on the United States, or at least that was being claimed as the basis for it. Instead, it was about the enforcement of the UN Security Council resolution, foreign policy interests that were very important, humanitarian interests that were important, but none of which are traditional bases for Article II claims of authority to deploy the military.
Thank the gentleman. And just to alert members and witnesses, because we're the largest committee in Congress, I have to be pretty strict about the time limit. So I appreciate your understanding on that. Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank